Welcome to Liberty Voice USA, the place where we cut through the spin, shine a light on the facts, and bring you the unfiltered truth of our political moment. I'm your host, and today we're stepping into a dramatic showdown that unfolded within the halls of power, a moment of interruption, tension, and one undeniable blow-for-blow reply that left even seasoned observers taking notice. It all began during a heated hearing of the House Judiciary Committee, where Representative Jasmine Crockett, a Democrat from Texas, was taking the floor and asserting her concerns about the independence of our courts. Across the table, figuratively and symbolically, was Associate Justice Thomas Clarence of the U.S. Supreme Court, who had been summoned in his capacity as part of a broader judicial oversight hearing to testify before members of Congress. What began as a measured exchange soon escalated into a confrontation. Thomas repeatedly interrupted Crockett, 8 times according to the public tally, each moment injecting raw tension into what should have been routine oversight dialogue. From the outset, Crockett's approach was firm. She spoke of the critical role the legislature plays in supervising the judiciary, of the duty Congress holds to check the power of the courts, and of what she described as the diminishing of our institutions when any one branch overreaches and escapes accountability. Thomas, in his role, challenged parts of her framing, asking probing questions, pushing back on certain assumptions, and in the process, interrupting her remarks with pointed interventions. Those interruptions matter, because each time Thomas cut in, it shifted the rhythm of Crockett's argument. It forced her to pause, reroute, reestablish her point. It imposed, if only momentarily, the weight of the institution of the Supreme Court onto the floor. And that's not accidental. When a Supreme Court justice who sits for life steps into a congressional hearing and interrupts a member of Congress multiple times, the optics alone carry power. As the 8th interruption ended, it seemed like a stalemate, the veteran justice holding court, the rising congresswoman representing the indignation of many Americans who feel the judiciary has become too distant and unaccountable. But then came the 9th response, the moment that changed everything. Crockett, responding with calm intensity, found her rhythm again. She reminded the hearing that the Constitution vests authority in the people through the elected branches, that judges are not kings, and that when unelected justices claim there is no accountability, they undermine democracy itself. The judiciary, she stated, may interpret the law, but it does not write it, and it does not stand above the people. She delivered that line not as a soundbite, but as a reckoning, and in that moment the chamber fell silent. Thomas, typically unflappable, appeared taken aback. The interruption count ceased, and the hearing shifted. The power dynamic changed.
Dershowitz tried to respond. His words stumbled over themselves, caught between legal theory and moral clarity. He started to talk about precedent, how the law separates emotion from judgment. But the power of her question had already done its work. Because this wasn't just about law, it was about truth. About the moral consistency that our political system so often pretends to have, yet constantly fails to uphold. In that one moment, Jasmine Crockett exposed what many Americans have been feeling for years, that too often legal arguments become shields for political convenience, that the same principles invoked to defend the powerful are rarely extended to protect the powerless. And what made the moment even more powerful was what came next. Crockett didn't gloat. She didn't turn the exchange into a spectacle. She simply sat back and let silence reveal the imbalance. Because sometimes the most devastating truth isn't shouted, it's spoken once and left to echo. It was the kind of moment that reminds us why political commentary is more than just debate. It's the struggle between intellectual honesty and intellectual manipulation, between those who twist law to serve politics and those who use politics to defend justice. Dershowitz, for all his brilliance, represents a generation of thinkers who believe the law can be separate from moral consequence. Crockett represents a new generation that refuses that separation. A generation that understands that the Constitution is not a shield for the powerful, but a promise to the people.
And now, as we look ahead, the question persists. Will this hearing mark a turning point? Will we see more members of Congress willing to press Supreme Court justices in public testimony, willing to reclaim oversight? Will justices be prepared to respond as public servants, acknowledging the authority of Congress, rather than acting as if their power cannot be challenged? That remains to be seen. What we can say for certain is this. When someone like Jasmine Crockett stands up and uses her ninth reply to shift the dynamic, the narrative changes. The moment became less about one interruption and more about institutional accountability. The moment reminds us that democracy is not passive. Power is not inert. Even the most elevated robes still answer to the citizenry through their institutions, their representatives, their laws. And perhaps most importantly for our viewers, when we say unfiltered political reality, this is what we mean. When we say facts speak louder than politics, we're pointing to moments exactly like this one. It's not about winning applause or making noise. It's about holding power to account. So let's remember this exchange. 8 interruptions, 1 defining response. And let's ask ourselves, who is holding the judiciary accountable? Who ensures the balance remains intact? Because when that balance fails, democracy itself falters. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned, stay aware, and stay truthful. This is Liberty Voice USA, where facts speak louder than politics.